When OpenAI announced the release of GPT-5 with great fanfare, I don't think they could have imagined that their transition over to this much anticipated model would end up with a user revolt that resulted in them embarrassingly backtracking on many of the changes they made. Users found the upgrade to GPT-5 jarring, and understanding why this happened and why the world's leading developer of these solutions didn't foresee it illuminates a tension between the geniuses pushing the AI train forward and everyone else. So let's break this down and extract some of the lessons industry leaders like Sam Altman might wish they had learned sooner. But before we start, a quick introduction. My name is Nick. I help smaller businesses to achieve more using AI, and I specialise in Microsoft 365 Copilot and the AI tools that are part of Microsoft's platform. If what you see in this video is useful to you, it'd be great if you could give it a like, drop a comment below letting me know what helped you the most, and consider subscribing so you can see more like this in the future. And if you need more direct help with your organisation's Copilot adoption or any other AI project, consider reaching out to learn how I can help. Information on this is down in the description. Why was there a revolt over GPT-5? We can boil it down to two reasons, both of them rooted in the desire to upgrade ChatGPT's technology. First, OpenAI saw GPT-5 as a big version upgrade everyone should be excited to use, rather than the iterative updates that have left prior models in place we've become accustomed to over the last few years of using ChatGPT. Users woke up the day after the announcement and found that GPT-5 was now the only option, not just a choice to try out and transition to over time. And second, GPT-5 came with a new technical paradigm under the hood. Whereas prior to its release you might purposefully choose to use GPT-4o for a quick, low-thinking answer, and then switch to o3 for deep thought on complex topics, GPT-5 essentially removed this choice by integrating a prompt router under the hood, where OpenAI, rather than the user, would choose how much thinking effort should be devoted to each request. This meant that if ChatGPT deemed your inquiry to be sophisticated enough, it would sit back and think a little, but for most requests it would just spurt out the first answer that came to mind, no matter your intent as the user. On an objective business level, both of these changes make perfect sense. Newer models are becoming more efficient as well as smarter, so endlessly running older models doesn't just give you objectively weaker responses, it also burns a lot more energy. So moving everyone to GPT-5 is good both for users and for OpenAI. And I believe it's been reported that OpenAI's usage telemetry showed them that only a small percentage of users were actually regularly using the model picker, so automatically routing prompts to give what should be the best answer without user intervention should be perceived as a welcome upgrade as well as another step toward greater efficiency. But within hours, discussions around these issues highlighted that many very vocal users saw neither of these changes as an upgrade, and there were specific cases floating to the surface where people had developed close bonds with the types of responses GPT-4o gave and were dismayed by its absence. Or they had built specific workflows that helped them using o3, but the same sets of prompts ended up with entirely different results with GPT-5. You had users both feeling as if they'd lost their buddy and their most helpful colleague. Over the course of the next couple of days, OpenAI and Sam Altman backed down, and now a choice of models has returned. It's unclear how much damage this might have done to ChatGPT's reputation, but it does offer us an interesting point in time to analyse where we are almost 3 years into the AI revolution OpenAI kicked off, not just in terms of the technology we focus on so much, but also in relation to how humans interface with it. If we return to the GPT-5 announcement, I'd like to dwell a little longer on a point I pulled out in my last video.
But with GPT-5, now it's like talking to an expert, a legitimate PhD level expert in anything, any area you need, on demand, that can help you with whatever your goals are.
This talk of the level of expertise of GPT-5 is all well and good, but according to a recent source, only about 3% of US adults hold a PhD. So most of the success in our economy doesn't rely on people with PhDs. Unless you work in a specific field or a large business, it's unlikely any of your colleagues hold PhDs. And for most types of jobs, trying to recruit someone with a relevant PhD would make hiring almost impossible. This is marketing, not useful technical specification. There's an innate part of all of us that look at these tools and are excited by the idea of them becoming smarter.
We think you will love using GPT-5 much more than any previous AI. It is useful, it is smart, it is fast, and it's intuitive. GPT-3 was sort of like talking to a high school student. There were flashes of brilliance, lots of annoyance, but people started to use it and get some value out of it. With GPT-4, maybe it was like talking to a college student. Real intelligence, real utility.
Sure, those college students were fine, but OpenAI's new PhD level AI, that's going to be the one. But in any actionable way for 99% of people doing regular jobs, whether or not GPT-5 has a PhD level understanding of any topic or is a universal expert is utterly irrelevant, and focusing on it as a metric for how good it is or is not is just complete nonsense. So if the headline capability for OpenAI's model announcement isn't relevant, what is? Most users of AI tools like ChatGPT are using them in an assistant or pseudo-assistant capacity. There might be CEOs of big businesses running off with dreams of an AI workforce, but the original line in the sand Microsoft established by calling these products Copilot still makes total sense. For the vast majority of use cases, a human is solidly in the driver's seat, and for a multitude of reasons, including the specific work being done, safety, and responsible use. And this should probably remain the same for some time to come. Through my career, I've had the privilege of working with many people who have been in assistant roles. People providing administrative assistance to departments or teams, people working as executive assistants to senior managers. And while some of them have indeed been super smart, none of them have held a PhD, and in fact I'm not sure any of them have held any type of advanced degree. And some of the best have genuinely been people who probably didn't even see many A grades back in school. But what they did bring was reliability in spades, consistency, a huge amount of EQ and good judgment versus the highest IQ. These team members got the job done by bringing nothing to the table that Sam Altman crows about for his AI models, but by delivering many of the things OpenAI would prefer you forgot about that GPT-5 or 4 or 3 just haven't been that good at. And that's not to say these human assistants got everything right. There were issues where their expertise lacked, where they got the wrong end of the stick, where they delivered some work that needed to be done over as it missed something crucial. But here's the important thing. We all very happily work with others every day who we know don't know everything, who we know misthink certain types of issues, who we know are great in Word but lack Excel skills, and we still get good work done. Why? Because we learn to work with them despite their weaknesses. Just like those folks that got used to doing their work with GPT-4o but had no idea how to achieve anything with GPT-5. The big tech companies want AI to become our colleagues, but if they are going to bring agents into our teams, shouldn't they first understand how teams of humans work together to achieve success? Because while I might not be an expert in all aspects of the most high-performing teams, I do know for certain that for most tasks, just filling a room full of people with PhDs is not the answer. So if being smarter isn't the factor we should focus on for AI tools, what is? Well, first, the idea of a prompt router is great, but only if it can deliver consistent results. An assistant who can give you Einstein-level insights 1 minute, but is as dumb as a rock the next, and you're not sure who is going to turn up in any instance, is the worst-case scenario. Our dialogues with those around us come with the context of our knowledge of them. We might phrase a question slightly differently for our smarter colleagues than those who need a little more guidance. And that doesn't stop us working effectively with either. If a prompt router can genuinely always select the right level of thinking, then that's great. But predictability is key here. What's important is not how much OpenAI believes is the right amount of thinking to get a good answer, but the amount of thinking the user expects when they make the request that drives the tone of the response they get back. Second, we don't want dumb responses, but equally we must understand that the objective intelligence displayed within an answer is perhaps not as important as other subjective factors in how a user perceives those responses. Imagine if your team members just changed their personalities on a dime. Suddenly the way they spoke to you, the tone, the delivery was entirely different. The substance of what was said might be exactly the same, but the experience might be jarring, distracting, and not as productive as it could be. This is what happened with the GPT-5 rollout. While some issues might have come from the objective smartness limitations of misrouting a request through the prompt router, many issues came from the subjective differences in delivery that seem to almost be an afterthought for OpenAI. The best answer to a question is a combination of accuracy and delivery style, and one without the other doesn't work for the way many humans interface with the world. Third is the fact that just focusing on increasing smartness doesn't make up for the other workarounds users have had to find to issues that aren't being improved so rapidly. Your human assistant probably doesn't have a PhD, but he also probably doesn't confidently give you the wrong answer, or forget everything you told him beyond a 400,000 token limit. Humans are very used to working alongside other humans, but the concept of computers that make mistakes and forget stuff just isn't yet a part of how most of us naturally think. We've had 50 years of learning that computers will eventually give us the answer to everything, and now that they seem on the cusp of that, we're being told to check their work, while also being told that they are much smarter than most of us. Threading this needle to arrive at a point of common understanding for everyone involved is tricky, and so far, in my view, most of the tech companies aren't doing too great a job at it. Hopefully this incident will lead the AI makers to think more deeply about how they approach technical upgrades, and the consideration of those non-technical but very human elements in how those processes will work. As we consider how to integrate AI usefully into our personal workflows and into our teams, there is huge potential, but only if we tackle the issue holistically and in a human-centered way, rather than just focusing purely on the technology. Technology change is always about people, but AI doubles down on that fact. When I work with businesses either on Microsoft 365 Copilot adoption or other aspects of AI strategy, my focus is always to maximise the benefit gained from AI in collaboration with the human teams rather than in spite of them. As the technology makers sprint back and forth past each other, jockeying for the lead in the AI capability race, remembering that those tools are only as powerful as the humans who adopt their use, or the businesses that choose to trust them, is perhaps something that should be more front of mind. This continues to be an area where I've been most impressed with Microsoft's approach, a company that might not always be the fastest to ship a new feature or might not seem to be on the cutting edge, but mostly seeks to narrate that adoption story alongside the pure technology upgrades as they go. Other providers might learn from this. What has been your experience with GPT-5 so far? Do you like using it, or is your preference the older models? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching through to the end. Until the next video, bye bye.